Hi everyone, this is Lien. Welcome back to the Rachelle on a Miller YouTube channel. Today I'm sharing this card where I'm using a brand new digital stamp, Make a Wish, that you will be able to buy on June the 10th. So this one is adorable, but there are some other amazing digital stamps released. I hope that you already saw some sneak peeks on Instagram and other social media from the great design team, because this release is so amazing. I think you will want to have all the digital stamps released this month. But this one, called Make a Wish, is just adorable. This is a little boy and with a dog next to it, and I think it's just amazing. My idea for today was to create a slimline card, and actually, as you saw maybe just before I zoomed in, there are several stars in this card, and actually I just took one of the stars, the one right against the Make a, there is a tiny star. I decided to take a copy of this star and put it everywhere. So actually you will see the same star returning higher up in the card. You don't need to do that, but you can if you want to. Just make it your own. Create a scene that you want to. If you want to add lots of stars, then definitely like this you can do that. You can also draw it in yourself, but I really like the stars that Rachelle creates, so I wanted to copy that and just add it everywhere. For the coloring, I'm using my Copic markers. If you saw the previous video, then you know that I personally don't have a laser printer, I have an inkjet, and today I wanted to show you the coloring of a black outlined image, because this way you see that actually it works with an inkjet printer as well, because I can tell it to you, but you can still think, yeah, but it's going to bleed the ink. Well, mine didn't bleed, and it's a black outline, and I'm really glad that it didn't, because I know that in the beginning I thought, okay, if I limit myself to the no line version, then I already have a really soft ink that if it starts bleeding, it won't disrupt the image or anything like that. But as you can see, the black outline works just as well, I must admit, just for the alcohol markers. If you want to do watercoloring, then the inkjet probably won't help you. It's better to have a laser printer, to be sure. But well, every printer has its own characteristics, so maybe you can always try it. Then for the coloring, I'm using Copic markers. I'm always putting the caps for you there if you're curious to the combination that I'm using, but just easy reference. I am also listing the specific combos in the description box as well as on my blog post. If you are curious to see later on which colors I used, then you can definitely check that out over there or rewatch the video. That's also a possibility. Something that I like doing is actually search for places on the image where I can use the same color, because an image like this you can go all out and use all those colors you have in your craft room. But I like to keep it some sort of simple, and even with the intricate images I think that you can keep it simple by trying to reuse the combination or part of the combination on another part of the image, which I'm doing here. As you saw, the shoes, the backpack, the dog, the spots on the dog, it's all the same idea, just a different place. So I'm building up coloring today, and I'm trying to have my shadow on the left. It's not that you need to, you can definitely change up the shadowing, or you can do it centered, or well, you can do the shadows on the right as well. If I am deciding upon where my shadows are going, I usually look at the back of the images. So here you can see that the boy is facing towards the right, so then for me it's logical to take the shadows on the left. The same for the dog in this case, they are both looking in the same direction, which makes it easier, in my opinion, to do the shadowing the same way. But you can definitely do whatever you feel comfortable with and whatever you like as end result. That's the most important thing. Also about the coloring with Copic markers or with alcohol markers in general, there are so many ways to do your alcohol marker coloring. I prefer going from darkest to lightest. I color on Translucite Perfect coloring paper, which is a paper that in my opinion is really handy to have if you want to color with alcohol markers in general, because it allows you to add lots and lots of layers without the problem of bleeding outside of the lines of the image. So that's why I like that. And I notice also on this paper that I need at least 2 layers to be really happy with the blending. But as I said, if needed, I can add lots and lots of layers to get that blend that I want, because this paper can handle alcohol markers. In the past, I colored on Nina, which is a paper that I also truly love. I started on Nina, so that's a paper that I will never forget. But there I noticed that some markers, for example the violet markers, I need more layers than 2 usually to get the blend that I want, and then I had some issues. So it's just something that I want to tell you. Also depending on the printer you have, mine cannot handle the Nina, but it can handle this one, the Translucite Perfect coloring paper, because the thickness of the paper is, well, not as thick as Nina. So that's always handy. For the stars, I am doing the same combination on all of the stars, using some yellows. And I actually have noticed when I'm doing stars that I usually use the same markers, and you might think this as well, but I just don't have a lot of yellow markers. So next investment in Copic markers for me will be the yellow ones, to expand a bit more and have more options. Well, I like this combination, so so I'm doing that. Something that I also told in the previous video is that I am not as good with Copic markers when it comes to coloring the scene or the background, you know. There I am limited and I must admit to that. But an option, and I'm doing that today as well, is creating your own masks. Now masks, you can think, well, it's a digital, so I have some Inkadinkado stamping mask paper. There are some amazing brands like Gina K Designs, like Lien, I think as well. Now I'm not sure, but there are lots and lots of brands who have its own masking paper, and if you keep it complete, which I did, well, except for the ones that I used. Okay, so if you keep those papers complete, then your printer will also be able to print on that. So I just decide how I want my image or the size of my image, and I print it out onto my Translucite Perfect coloring paper to color it in. And then I copy the same size of this image onto another Word, well, a blank sheet of Word. Then I copy paste it on there, and I just fill it with all of the digital stamps that I like, that I have bought, that I have purchased, that I got for this design team projects, and I add as much as possible. I change the size of the document on my laptop to the size of the masking paper, and then I print it all at once, so that I have lots of use of that one paper of masking paper. I know once you get into the cutting of your mask, and of course you won't be able to use the leftover to put in the printer, but keep the leftovers because it can help you in other projects or when you're using clear stamps. So that's that. Then, as you saw me doing here, before I started on the grass, well, in my opinion it's grass, before I started on that, I first die cut my slimline panel using the slim window dressing from Mama Elephant, but there are a lot of slimline dies out there to use, of course, because I wanted to keep that stitching detail wide, and therefore I first had to know just where the stitching detail was coming before I could start on the grass part. I also tried to add some shadows. As you saw me doing, I just flicked just from behind the image towards the side that I want the shadow to be on. So in this case, towards the left. And that's the Copic coloring already. I decided to add a darker flower on the bottom, and then I have here my printed version of the masks that I needed. So also I copy paste the stars because I also needed them to be able to do my background. As I said, not coloring it with Copic markers, but I'm using my distressings today. So, and as you can see me doing, the whole idea, you're going to fussy cut your mask out. If you have a machine, then of course you can put it in the machine and let it be cut out by the machine itself. But in my case, I just fussy cut it with a scissor. As I prevented going into that stitching detail with my Copic markers, I'm doing the same now for the distressings as well. So I'm covering the edges using some purple tape. This is a low-tech tape. It will not rip my paper, but always be careful. And then I'm going to start with the stars first. So what I do is just go around them using this distress ink. And once I have that, I am going to bring in my blues. And I think it's handy to know it's not an issue if you go over your yellow parts where you want that star to glow. I don't mind going over it. I actually think that it's more realistic, not that I'm going for a truly realistic card, of course. As long as it's cute, it's just fine. But I'm first going around the glow that I added using these peacock feathers, and there are several ways you can create a galaxy or a night sky background. Today I'm just showing one of them. And once I did that, I'm going back over that glow. And strangely enough, something that I really like, but strangely enough, it actually pops more if you do that, or in my opinion it does. So then I take my even darker blue and I'm going again around all the areas where I already went. And I will go back and forth until I'm happy with the blend that I have created completely. And if you go over the lighter colors, don't worry, you just continue, and even if it pops a tiny bit, it will have a great effect. Also, something that you need to keep in mind is that, of course, with the masks, you have no idea if this is going to turn out right or not. So personally, I feel more comfortable ink blending than Copic coloring. So that's why I first color my image and then go towards the ink blending. If you're not comfortable with the ink blending and you think that you might mess up with the background, but there is no way you're messing it up, then I suggest starting with that. I always start with the most difficult part of my card. This way I know when that's over, it will go smooth, you know? So in my case, starting with the Copics, then towards the distress inks. Now, a bit of black soot on the edges of your card or just on the top, depending on what kind of background you're creating. I don't know why, but the impact is huge. So it's something that I definitely always try to do. And if I don't, then I definitely forgot to do it because I would never on purpose skip the black soot. And I know that it might be daunting to do that, but truly you can go back and forth with all the other colors again. As you can see here, I'm again there with the yellow going over and trying to pop that yellow again. But wait until we remove the masks, because I kept it inside of this video because that's just the big reveal, you know? Okay, as I'm doing a night sky or galaxy kind of background, I'm going to add some white splatters. This is the Winsor & Newton Designer Gouache Permanent White. Just try to avoid over diluting your gouache if you have some at home. If you think that your gouache is sort of getting translucent when it dries, then you probably added too much water. So just try doing it a tiny bit at a time until you are able to splatter, and the thicker you can keep it, the better it will work. And now, as I am revealing everything, we will see if it worked out or not. But I truly love this part, and then just at the end we are going to fix up a few parts, just finish it off where we forgot something, and once that's done we're going to add this panel on top of a card base, and it's as simple as that. Truly, I don't know how people make their backgrounds with the Copic markers, but as long as I can handle these distress inks, I think I'm just fine. Here you can see, if you reveal the complete image, it's personally, I think this is crazy, you know? I think it. So as you can see, I have some edges of the grass that I need to fix. Also the bottom, I can go a bit closer towards the edge, but I will just do that all in the end. So now it's time for the bottom there. Truly just tiny details. If I was brave enough to do this immediately, then well, it would already have been done and it was completely finished then. Also I forgot the little how do you call it? The sort of the necklace of the dog. I didn't do the medallion. If the word choices aren't correct, I'm sorry. But you know what I mean. I forgot it, but I took the same yellow as I used for the stars, so that's not a really big deal. And then I decided to add it on top of a card base. And of course you can add it in several ways on there. I'm just using some Scotch 3M foam tape today. And then I'm going to try to position it as good as possible. Always handy is to tape your card base closed just for a while using a low-tech tape, in my case purple tape, and then later on you can just remove it slowly from the inside of your card base. To finish off the card, I'm going to add some glossy accents on the stars, but also on the nose of the dog. And then I will stop adding things. You can add some embellishments if you want, you can add some glitter if you want. I'm just keeping it to the glossy accents, and if you have difficulties with getting it inside of those corners of the stars, for example, like I do, I just use this needle and I drag it towards the corners. Now you can also use a fine tip applicator. I have one laying around here, but I have never used it and I'm a bit scared, so I just use the needle. Yeah, just keeping it safe with the needle. So that's what I'm doing. And once every star has the glossy accents and that nose of the dog, then this card will be completely finished. I will show it a bit up close as well, but you know, the glossy accent still needs to dry, of course, and then it will be perfect. So I hope that you enjoyed this video and that I might have told you something that you didn't know already. You never know. So I hope as well that you like the end result. Don't forget, this channel is new, so we are building up this channel step by step. If you don't want to miss any inspiration, then definitely follow this YouTube channel to be the first to see new videos up here. And if you like the video, you can always give it a thumbs up. We would truly appreciate it. I hope you have an amazing day left, and I will be back soon with some new crafty inspiration. Bye!